Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. Welcome to EVTN News. I wanted to see how this was going to go today. Um, how does this work? Anyway, I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I'm going to talk about the news. And this, the last week has been crazy. And I can't possibly report all of the news, all of the what every bishop says about everything. It's impossible. So I mean, I'm not going to be your complete comprehensive source of news. That's sad to say. I wish I could be, but I can't. So, with that being said, we'll just move on. And I'm not sure how many people are going to join the live stream, but thanks for joining. So, I'm just going to start off. Of course, the LMNOP blessings are the big thing, and that'll take up a bulk of the news here. But there are a few other stories that have gotten lost in the shuffle. And as you know, the Latin masses are being cracked down. What do I want to say? Like one by one. At this point, I know that there was a big push to crack down initially, and then um, when Pope Francis saw that most bishops weren't as enthusiastic about crushing the mass as he was, and him and Roche, then they started, relying on the nuncios. At least from what I understand, that um, I would guess that I would guess that there's a message from the nuncio to crack down on these masses because with these bishops, I mean, I think a lot of them are fine to just say, okay, we're just gonna ignore it and move on. And a lot of them have, and then all of a sudden, these masses are getting crushed. Did the bishop just randomly decide he wanted to do that at all these different dioceses just at random times? No, I would say I would say there's the chances of that are impossible, basically. Um, so anyway, Bishop Laurent Dognan, age 70 of Quimper, France, announced on the 18th of December he had broken off relations with the FSSP. He accused the FSSP of creating irreversible tensions within the diocese. The accusation was probably a projection. At the end of November, it emerged that Dognan had planned to move the FSSP from an otherwise unused church in Quimper to a site on the outskirts of the city, but now he seems to have opted for the complete destruction. The FSSP has been present in the diocese since 2016. Its parish in Quimper gathers between 250 and 500 faithful on average in the summer and is one of the largest parishes in the dying diocese. According to Bishop Dognan, other priests will replace the FSSP in the two parishes where they were active. Judging from past experience, this is the usual tactic to let a Roman Rite community die slowly without causing too much uproar among the faithful. So the FSSP is getting crushed in Quimper, France. And that should be really concerning because the right now, at least in the United States, the parishes that have gotten crushed are diocesan parishes where the priest is what you would call like a dual rite priest. They say both the Latin Mass and the Novus Ordo. Um, of course, that's not the official term, but really in practice it is. I mean, they are separate rites, according to everything except, well, what Pope Benedict said, because even Francis has implied that they're different rites. The Latin Mass and Novus Ordo are different rites. He's implied that. He hasn't actually said that, but eventually it will be. It will come to that, I expect, unless the Novus Ordo is abrogated, which we can only hope. Um, okay, so getting to the LMNOP blessings. Um, okay, so there's going to be mostly the news is going to be about the LMNOP blessings, with a few other news stories scattered in, maybe like one or two extras. And so the SSPX responded. They said, "It is important to point out the scandalous nature of this text, which, despite the semantic squirming, appears to counter the preceding decision of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. That decision, dating from February 22nd, 2021, denied the possibility of such a blessing with an explanation that did not leave loopholes. It was a decision which had been approved by Francis, incidentally. The scandal lies in the fact that even if the DDF is careful to avoid any resemblance to marriage, the result produced on the faithful in the newspapers and to those who are not Catholics is one of affirmation." It says, quote, "The church authorizes blessing of LMNOP couples," end quote, "without any other distinctions that the dicastery attempts to set down. Yet it is impossible that the Curia did not anticipate the result. The DDF is therefore entirely responsible for the scandal, which according to its definition consists on an occasion to fall, that is, to sin. It is absolutely evident that in the thinking of a number of people, part of the faithful or not, this announcement is one matter of saying that the Church accepts with nothing to add these situations." So the SSPX was very straightforward, and that's one good thing about them, is that they don't sugarcoat things, but they're not over dramatic about things either, and so I like their balance where they're able to have a measured analysis of what's going on in the church, and be able to say things in a straightforward way without sensationalizing everything, I guess you could say. Okay, so I'm looking at a Catholic News Agency article. Now, it says about how different bishops have reacted to this information. So, okay, in some countries, including Austria, Germany, and France, many church leaders have warmly embraced the new guidelines. Okay, and then church leaders in other countries, such as the United States, Philippines, Ukraine, Ghana, and Kenya, have mostly accepted the declaration but are urging caution in its implementation. Church leaders in at least 3 countries are refusing to implement the declaration entirely, and that is Kazakhstan, Malawi, and Zambia. And actually, 2 of those countries are in Africa, and more African bishops have jumped on board since this article was written in Catholic News Agency. So bishops who embrace the LMNOP blessings: Archbishop Franz Lachner of Austria. I'm just kind of scrolling through this article. Bishop Georg Batzing of the German Bishops' Conference. He was rejoicing about it. Archbishop Hervé Girard of France, Archdiocese of Sens and Auxerre. He said that he was enthusiastic about it. Okay, the USCCB issued a statement in which they buried their head in the sand. A lot of bishops, including Andrew Cozzens, are saying, well, there's nothing here. Same with, I think was it Barron? I don't know. Supich said that it was a positive step for the church, of course. He would support that. Okay, Filipino Archbishop Socrates Villegas, he emphasized the church's teaching on LMNOP behavior. Okay, so he's saying, oh, well, you can have blessings, asking God to have pity on them. No. Ukrainian, so the Roman Catholic bishops of Ukraine said the document provides no permission for blessing of LMNOP cohabitation or any life in sin, so they misunderstood the document. And bishops in African countries were completely scandalized. Okay, and I think that's it for what I wanted to say with that. Alright, so let's go back to the other stories here. Okay. So also from Ukraine is the Ukrainian Patriarch, Ukrainian Catholic Church, which is part of the what would be called like the considered the Byzantine Rite in the Eastern Catholic Church. Um, Archbishop Sviatoslav Shevchuk. He's the head of the Greek Catholics in Ukraine. He's the patriarch, so basically the highest ranking bishop in their Eastern Rite Church. And so he said France's recent propaganda text interprets the meaning of blessing only in the Latin Church, not for Eastern Catholics, he said in a statement. He said, according to the liturgical practice of our church, the blessing of a priest or bishop is a liturgical gesture that cannot be separated from the rest of the content of the liturgical rites and reduced only to the circumstances and needs of private piety. Shevchuk adds that the concept of blessing means approval and permission. The priest's blessing has a catechetical dimension and can no way contradict the teaching on marriage. He said pastoral discernment urges us to avoid ambiguous gestures, expressions, and concepts that would distort or misrepresent the Word of God and the teaching of the Church. And so this is an interesting statement from him because apparently, I mean, is he Catholic? Because wouldn't he also fall under like, declarations from the Pope? But he's saying, well, it doesn't apply to Eastern Catholics, so we're not going to bless LMNOPs. Okay, so it looks like as of right now, the Eastern churches are at least in a sense better off than the Roman Rite churches, even though people are angry about it. Lots of people, 500 priests, I believe. I don't know if they're all from the United States, but there were a group of 500 priests that signed a document saying no thanks, or not even thanks. I mean, they're not thankful for anything. They're not thankful for the confusion, not thankful for the heresy. I mean, let's call it what it is. Is it a sin? Is it a sin to bless sin? Yeah, it is. It's a sin to bless sin. You should not be able to bless LMNOPs as a couple. Not at all. It doesn't matter what the intention is. You shouldn't bless them as a couple. You should bless them. You can give it. You can give any individual any bless. You can give any individual a blessing. That's fine. If they want blessings, if LMNOPs come to a priest and say we'd like a blessing, then if the Pope were Catholic, or if the Rome, anyone in the Vatican were Catholic or had an ounce of Catholicism in their minds at all, then they would have said, this isn't possible. If LMNOPs come to you for a blessing, you can bless them individually. You can give them an individual blessing for, what would you say, like rejection of their lifestyle, potentially. Bless them for the grace to reject the sinful lifestyle. That would be fine. Okay. Another branch of the Byzantine Rite is the Melkites, and they, from what I understand, their chants are similar to the Middle Eastern chants, and so bear with me while I talk about this for a second. Is that, like the Arab chants, sort of like what you would hear with the Mohammedans. The Melkites have similar chants to that, and I actually think those chants are really neat. Not necessarily like the heretic, the heretic Mohammedan chants, but the chants in general are really neat. So this is the rite that has similar chants to that. Of course, the chants of the Melkites are far more traditional than the Mohammedans, because the Mohammedan religion was created by Muhammad, of course, who was potentially possessed by a demon. But anyway, Bishop Francois Beyrouti of the Melkite Eparchy of Newton in the United States. Really, it's the only eparchy in the United States, I think. So really, he's the bishop of the whole United States. Anyway, he affirms marriage between a man and a woman, and then he says, If there is a request to attend or do a blessing or ceremony either inside or outside a church, it can only be done with my prior written permission. Disregard for this prescription will result in canonical penalties. So he'll remove priest faculties if they bless LMNOPs, is what I took from that, which is pretty neat. Of course, there's not a lot of Melkites around the United States. You can go on their website, the Eparchy of Newton, Newton, and you can find the churches, if there even is one in your state, much less your local region. It's sort of unlikely, but there are some. So, okay. And getting to something different, one of the few different news articles we have that doesn't relate to LMNOP blessings, but it kind of does. But anyway, it's not directly related. More than 40 laymen and laywomen in the Diocese of Clogher in the north of Ireland will soon begin presiding over funeral liturgies amid a shortage of priests. Let me think about this. Let me talk about this. More than 40 laymen and laywomen in the Diocese of Clogher in the north of Ireland will soon begin presiding over funeral liturgies amid a shortage of priests. So they're going to have lay people do funerals in Ireland. Laymen and women. So it's not like in the Byzantine Rite, if the priest isn't available, the deacon leads a service, and that fulfills your Sunday obligation if the priest isn't available. But this is a gateway to women priests, and Ireland's doing it. And I know they have a shortage of priests. I know. It says a major vocations crisis could result in fewer than 10 active priests in the diocese in less than 20 years. According to the local ordinary, Bishop Larry Duffy, he announced in a Christmas pastoral letter December 16th. In the letter, he said that the lay ministers would lead the liturgy of reception of the body at the church and the rite of committal at the graveside. So you're not going to be getting a blessing. You're not going to be getting a funeral mass. So what's the point? Really? I mean, seriously. And okay, you have fewer than 10 active priests in the diocese, but how big is the diocese? Look, in the United States, we have these large geographical regions. But if you have 10 priests in a small region, then they could theoretically cover churches. I mean, is it really that bad that they have, or are they just creating this? Did they create the shortage themselves, and now they're trying to come up with a solution? So they created the shortage of priests so they could come up with their own solution. I don't know. I don't really know. Okay. Bridget Mock, the vice president of the Central Committee of German Catholics, ZDK, which is, I don't know, that's one of their organizations that they have in Germany. She announced that in light of Rome's permission to grant blessings to couples in irregular unions and LMNOP couples, the German bishops will continue as planned to work on a handout for blessing ceremonies of blessing to give to priests, ignoring the Vatican stipulation to the contrary. Mock elaborated that she hoped this change in the Church's practice of granting blessings would indeed lead to an eventual change in its doctrine of sexual morality. Of course, that's the goal all along, and Pope Francis has not done a thing to stop it. He said, "Oh, I'm concerned about the Germans," and then, of course, the Pope's planning news outlets like Catholic News Agency and the Pillar are saying, "Oh, Pope Francis says that Pope Francis condemns Germany. Pope Francis slams the German synodal way." No, he just said he was concerned. They were moving too fast for him. He's getting to the same point. They have the same goals. He's just moving slower than them, and he doesn't like that they're moving faster than him. That's all. That's all it means. And I'm going to move to Kissy's interview with the Pillar, Kissy Fernandez. I just took a few clips. So the first one, he says, "As I was saying, sometimes the priest on a pilgrimage does not know that couple, and sometimes they are two very close friends who share good things. Sometimes they had sexual relations in the past. and now what remains is a strong sense of belonging and mutual help. As a parish priest, I have often met such couples who are sometimes exemplary. Therefore, since it is not a question of the sacrament of confession, but of a simple blessing, it is still asked that this friendship be purified, matured, and lived in fidelity to the gospel. And even if there is some kind of sexual relationship, known or not, the blessing made in this way does not validate or justify anything. That's so perverted. What a pervert. That's so disgusting. Oh, they may have had a relationship in the past, and what remains is a strong sense of belonging. No, no, it doesn't. If they're living as a couple, they're either together or they're not. That's disgusting. If they reject their lifestyle, if they reject the LMNOP lifestyle, they won't live as a couple. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Think about it in terms of straight people, right? Oh, well, we had a relationship in the past and now we don't, but we're still living together. No, no one does that. Literally, no one does that. All right. Another thing he said is soon a group of dicastery prefects will begin a journey of conversion and deepening with the German bishops, and we will make all the necessary clarifications. Moreover, I am planning a trip to Germany to have some conversations that I believe are important. Is his conversation going to involve promoting Catholic doctrine? Because he's done a terrible job of that, even just in the last few months. I think what he's going to do is say, Germany, you're moving too fast. Slow down. We're gonna get to the same goal. It's just you need to bear with us and get on board the Francis train. I believe that's what he's going to tell them. I don't see any other way. I don't see any other option for that. All right, and the last thing he said. What a jerk. He said, I well understand the concern of the bishops in some African or Asian countries, in places where being LMNOP might put you in prison. It is an affront to human dignity that certainly distresses the bishops and challenges them in their fatherhood. It is likely that the bishops do not want to expose LMNOP persons to violence. They themselves refer to the legislation of their countries. While what is important is that these bishops' conferences are not holding a doctrine different from that of the declaration signed by the Pope, because it is the same doctrine as always, but rather they state the need for study and discernment in order to act with pastoral prudence in this context. I cannot say more than this, because I recognize that the reception of these documents requires time and a serene and prolonged reflection. Okay, so he's basically saying like, oh, it's illegal in some of these African countries, so that's why the bishops are hesitant to adopt it. No, they're hesitant to adopt it because they're Catholic, unlike you. I cannot say more. You won't say more. Pope Francis, I will not say one word. Vigano accused him of covering up for McCarrick. I will not say one word. Guess he says a lot of things. Then when it comes to this, he's just not going to say much more. Okay. All right, and the last story I have for you, it doesn't have to do with LMNOP, but it does have to do with a pro-LMNOP cardinal, as most of them are at this point. Cardinal Mario Gretsch spoke during an Anglican service at the Anglican Center in Rome on December 19th, calling this invalid ceremony on Facebook the Holy Eucharist. During his talk, which was the homily, he served up a word salad on ecumenism and synodality, telling the audience that through baptism, all Christians share in the sense of faith. Sensus fidei. For this reason, they should be listened to attentively regardless of tradition. For Gretsch, there can be no synodality without an ecumenical dimension, which is true because both are on the same road to certain failure. So, what do you guys think about that? A cardinal is celebrating at a fake liturgy. It's fake. It's invalid. And he called it the Holy Eucharist, which shows that what does he actually believe in the real presence of the Eucharist? Does he really believe in it? Because if he's celebrating in a fake liturgy, this is pretty scandalous. I mean, this would have been a headline story if it weren't for Francis' LMNOP blessings that happened in the last week. And he gave the homily, and wow, what a scandal! Seriously. Um, I don't know. Does that what does that even mean? Like, what does it mean for like the priest? Can priest con celebrate at a heretic liturgy? Can they con or a fake liturgy? Can they do that? I think, especially previous popes. I mean, pre-Vatican II popes would have excommunicated anyone who did that, but they would have excommunicated a lot of these people. A lot of these priests and bishops would be excommunicated right now. Maybe half, if we had a Catholic pope, pre-Vatican II pope. All right, Florida man. Merry Christmas to you, Florida man. Really not bad weather up here, but probably have a little bit warmer down there. I started watching like 2 seconds ago. So Melkites are based. I heard they were cringe. I didn't necessarily say they were based. I just said the bishop's statement was pretty based here. Um, I did watch. I watched a few Melkite liturgies, and some of them look pretty neat. I mean, the best thing to do is go if you have a local Melkite church. Go and see what it is. Go and see what it's like, and then you can see if there's abuses or not. I did see one of the live stream Melkite liturgies. I think they used a piano for music during communion, which is pretty cringe. But yeah, go for yourself, because I'm sure, like anything, I even say about the Byzantines, you need to filter out what you think is liturgical abuse or not. Just go and see, because some of them can be pretty base. The liturgy itself has reverence built into it, and so you're already a step above the Novus Ordo, even if you have like liturgical abuses. You're still a step above the Novus Ordo, because I mean, Novus Ordo, it's abuse after abuse. All right, the current church is having a massive Honorius moment. Does that mean that the Pope's a heretic? I don't know, because Honorius was a heretic, wasn't he? Okay, well, so I will let you get back to your Christmas. I'm surprised, I'm surprised anyone tuned in for this live stream during Christmas Day, but I figured I wanted to do it. I had a little bit of time, and I could do this instead of watching sports. But I also do want to finish my readings. I'm finishing up a few books, and they're pretty good. And I did get another book for Christmas, and so I'm excited to read some more of my stuff. So, okay, this has been Christmas on EVTN News. Probably the only news channel. Am I the only Catholic news channel broadcasting live on Christmas? I don't know. Is EWTN doing anything? Well, you can count on EVTN. And until next time, this has been EVTN News. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity. We will not be silent. Merry Christmas.